So we decided to switch and go from looking at the general population to look at people who are online and talk about similar topic. And topic were democracy and democratic institutions. So what we found was that they were just not reaching their audience. So the audience inside the country that they were working in, they were on a completely different platform, and the country doesn't have that much of internet penetration, so they didn't know how to link into societies and groups. So basically there was one blog here with 2 followers, one blog there with 2 followers, one blog here with 2 followers. They were not linked between themselves, so people were starting and continuing blogs for themselves and a couple of friends, but there was no global conversation inside the country. However, all the topics they were discussing were the topics relevant to that broadcaster. On the other hand, there was a very sophisticated, very advanced group of people who were linking and interviewing through Twitter, Facebook, and LiveJournal, which was another blog platform. But all of those people were the diaspora outside. They were extremely sophisticated, they know how to link each other, but they were not interested in everyday democracy conversations. They wanted to talk only about something sensational. So if there is a pre-newspaper blog, they would talk about that. If there is a journalist detained, they would talk about that, but not about everyday issues. So having these 2 audiences on completely different sides with completely different characteristics kind of contributed to them not reaching who they wanted to reach. So once they knew that there are these 2 audiences, they could leverage the strengths of each and kind of connect to each of them in different ways to engage them in conversation online and then potentially offline as well. So the last one, this is the evaluation of ongoing country program wrapping up. So this was the evaluation we did for the website set up by the US government for the visit of Obama to Brazil. This was the visit of Barack Obama to Brazil. Okay. The first ever visit was a big deal, so the embassy in Brazil set up a website. They set up a website, they publicized the website heavily. They had a lot of offline media engagement into promoting the website and bringing people to the website. However, what happened was that website was a standalone thing, and then embassy website was another standalone thing. And the connection, so this is these are all the people on the embassy website. And on the other hand, these are all the people on the website of Obama visit to Brazil. So the hope was that there will be a link between these 2 websites, and people who come to Obama to Brazil website eventually would move and will be the visitors for the embassy website. However, as you see, the link between these 2 websites is really, really small. And eventually, as the program was wrapping up, the events were kind of over, and the whole mass media noise was kind of getting down. This link was getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and eventually just these 2 websites became separate websites. And there was no transition of people coming to the website of Obama in Brazil to the website of US government, US embassy, where they actually did have a variety of interesting programs and a lot of things to offer. But this transition didn't happen because this monitoring wasn't done throughout the program. So they didn't look at why these people who come just to this website, why they're coming, what they're looking for, what their interests are, and how they can lure them to the main website. So these are basically the example, and the whole, the main takeaway probably is that evaluation online is even more important than evaluation for offline programs, because when you're dealing with people offline, you can see them, you can engage with them. Online, it's virtual space, you don't see them, you don't know what they are doing. So it's even more important to invest into getting to understand them, their interests, and the way they engage with you during and after the program, so that there is this lasting effect. And the lasting effect is not only on people who engage with your program, but they also share the knowledge to engage other people in the same program. And And that's what I had to say.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a few minutes for questions related to this presentation. After all the three, we have some time for discussion in general, so you can share also some tools that you use that you think is very innovative. Okay, so any questions from Anastasia at this point? Please, thank you.
So you were collecting most of the data through Google Analytics? Is that
the question was about Google Analytics, so she's asking how she get the data.
No, you cannot actually get all the data through Google Analytics because Google Analytics is basically for your website, so you can see for the people coming. But there is the list of different tools. So there are brand tracking, conversation tracking software, for example, Radiant 6, Alterian, that help you to see what people are talking about on different websites, track conversation. There is Issue Crawler, and there is a website that is actually called Issue Crawler.
What's it called, the website?
Issue Crawler.
Issue Crawler, the website.
So this website helps you to track the conversations, and there are proprietary software that you can buy, and they help you to create this code that you can embed in your text on the website, and then use Issue Crawler to actually track this code moving around the web.
And does it let you visualize?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It helps you create the actual maps.
Yes, we have one more question. Yes?
I'm sorry, I missed part of your presentation. Do you use any kind of web usability in this evaluating the effectiveness?
No, in this presentation I actually wasn't talking about web usability. We do usability studies, but usability study mostly is done offline, where you can have people use the website and actually tell you what they're liking, what they're not liking. So it's better done offline in the presence of the person, when you can observe their behavior, there is a specific software that helps you to kind of see where they're looking at on the website when they're talking with you, and at the same time you can have them also tell you, well, you know, this link doesn't make sense, or this search engine is not working properly. But we do that. I didn't talk about it here because it's mostly online evaluation.
Thank you very much. So if you still have questions, so keep for the end. So I'm going to ask you to, thank you very much. Stop this presentation. Sorry? Yeah, we can't connect this computer to this plug. So they are incompatible.
I have a converter.
Do you have it here?
Yeah, I think I should have it. I don't know if it's the right mark.
I love this participatory, presentations. So we help each other. Will we be okay?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think it's not so.
Yeah, we need to get some things. So it's going to be projected here, so I suggest you just turn very quietly in your chair, and there's a session going on the next one. Quietly. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Okay, thank you.
It looks a bit better. You will have to use your binocular to look at the presentation.
cannot hear you very well.
Okay.
You have to speak to us very loud. Okay.
Like I said, I'm going to talk a bit about an evaluation that we did of training, development evaluation training that we are running at ANAFE in Quebec, Canada. It's a training in development evaluation. So I'm not really going to focus on the actual results, but I'm trying asks to focus on the innovation that are worth mentioning in this. And also I'm going to give you a little assignment for the end of the presentation for the discussion, in case you would have any thoughts about these questions. Actually, like you will see, this presentation is really about how we develop evaluation framework for programs such as training, evaluation, development. So it's really a little reflection. I know it's late today, so I won't be asking too much, but a little reflection of what is the most appropriate indicator to measure the effect of development evaluation training program on the development of evaluation capacity. Because what I'm going to insist is that for this evaluation, like most evaluation of a training program, we just can't assess satisfaction. There's other intermediate and or long-term outcomes. And in the evaluation development, I think these outcomes must relate to the development of evaluation capacity. And second objective, which strategies will be used by the participant of these development evaluation training in order to make the transfer of knowledge and skill gained such in the program. Stop here. But what is the strategy in order to be able to transfer to use what is presented in these programs? So, what's the basis of this reflection? Why we are doing training in the development evaluation? Well, one thing that it might foster the development of an evaluation capacity, but like in like all the literature about the transfer of training, utilization of research, etc., there has to be institutional capacities, also individual characteristics that has to be present to foster this whole process. And also the idea is how can we, like I said, help these person be advocates of evaluation in their administration. Just a little conceptual issue about this. Well, usually the success of these programs usually assessed with criteria on participation satisfaction, but beyond that, we must really tackle behavioral change, the impacts on learners. So we might try to develop criteria for the evaluation around these concepts. And also because most of the times, most programs have their objective, and not only in development evaluation training, but in all public intervention. We have some objectives, but sometimes, we must go beyond these objectives in order to have an evaluation that is not that is more global and encompass all the effect of the intervention. So in the literature, you have plenty of criteria or conceptual theories that are available in order to develop criteria on this particular matters. Small pattern has some of them. You probably heard of the informational model, which is like the the most cited model in the evaluation of training. Also some other perspective like transfer of skill, knowledge, utilization in research field, application of a principle shown during training, diffusion of innovation, implementation of policy. So there's plenty of stuff and much more than we can chew. So, and this leads me to the first innovation. It's like we need to sort all this and have a framework in which we will have all the relevant variables that we can use and from which we can derive indicators in order to measure our outcomes. So it's a bit different than in theory-based evaluation. What I'm presenting is more what we call in French modèle problématique. I haven't been able to find a better translation than map of problematic. What is different with theory-based evaluation? Theory-based evaluation, that's like a causal model. You have the intended outcomes that are linked in causal relation, but you only have the intended outcomes. What is different with the map of the problematic is that we don't consider only the program, it's the whole phenomenon with its the different elements of the problem, its specific dynamics. So we want to have a broad view of the problem as well as its cause. So it's all the variables that we can that are relevant to explain the problem, see all the relations, and what is interesting is that further on in the development of your evaluation framework, is that it's going to allow you to be more, I guess, more aware of all the different variables that might interfere in the measure of your outcomes. Sometimes there's some independent variables, some external factors that you need to consider when you are developing your tools, your questionnaires, you're building your analysis plan. So these kind of models are pretty useful for that. So this is an example of what I call modèle problématique, so map of the problematic. So here you have we gathered different conceptual and theoretical representation in order to explain the problem of training. So we had some, it's difficult to see here, but we have some variables around knowledge, attitudes, competencies. These are variables that with information we want to influence. But also we have some effects, variables on utilization of the training, also the effect that it has on the organization, on performance, etc., and some external factors. So this is an example. Now, I was talking about it was that this work was done during the evaluation of a program. It's just called AfrEA. So it's a program that we run at ANAFE. It gathers in Quebec City around 80 participants from different African countries. And after like 3 years, we wanted to know what was happening with them, how they were translating and using what they learned during the program. So we tried to improvise a little evaluation because we didn't have any funding and not much time. So what we tried is we designed an online questionnaire that we sent to these participants. So here are some methodological aspects. I can maybe go fast if you have questions about this. Just to mention that we had 37 participants that was the alumni for the two first classes. Our online questionnaire, we received 10 questionnaire. So we use surveillance also. So it's pretty easy to run these questionnaire, but the downside is the response rate. Normally, like when we have a big sample in the social science, when you have around 30% of participation, you're quite happy. But here, it's we didn't have a big population, and we only have 10. So of course, there's no internal reliability or validity around this. We're presenting these as some methodological achievement, but just present maybe the potential of that kind of evaluation. And we plan to maybe retry this methodology when we have a bigger alumni, and maybe modify maybe maximize the information that we can be able to get. So, these are the wording of the questions. They are in French, so I can maybe during the discussion, if you are interested about this, try to make an online translation. Pass.
And some examples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not all of them. Yeah.
Okay. Like here, this question was, we wanted to assess if the learnings had brought to the participants, if the learning brought by the program on the knowledge, competency, led to changes in the exercise of the work in the organization. So when we had a Likert scale of no change, light change, significant change, and big change. And also we had a list of potential factors that can facilitate or hinder the adoption of knowledge and competencies proposed during the program. So we actually asked the people to cross which one of these events were actually happening in their context. So that's the table that we have on the next slide, on the other one. So here it's like, for example, knowledge and competencies that were proposed during the debate seem adequate with those that I had before my participation to the program. I'm ready to make necessary efforts to adopt and implement the knowledge, competencies proposed by the debate, etc., and so on. So there's a bunch of factors that are more individual, some others are more on the institutional level, like for example, our organization is ready to implement these changes. There's I have the backing of my superiors to go on with these changes, etc. So these are the factors that were mentioned that were stops at the adoption. Like my organization doesn't have the resources necessary to adopt these elements. Doesn't have the financial resources, the physical, geographical of my workplace doesn't allow the adoption and implementation of the consequences and competencies proposed by the program. My decision powers and not important to go on with this. So that's these elements. So, like I said, there's no internal validity, but I think with the bigger population, it would be interesting to, like when running a program like this, to really know what's the situation back home of these participants in order for them to be ambassadors of evaluation. So maybe by having more important samples that could lead to interesting insights. But of course, it's maybe you need to have some methodologies that allow flexibility about the practice context. So this is a question, like I said, we maybe did in one morning on the side of a desk. So we need to, if we get serious with this, you have to maybe have some mixed methods, or I don't know, use case studies and maybe contact more directly some of these participants who know have examples, concrete examples of how they manage to implement these elements. And also maybe have an evaluation methodology that allows to look over time at the movement of innovation in the organization, not limit ourselves to immediate effects. And also, it's one of the downsides of the methodologies because these participants come from Africa, so maybe internet access is not always easy to have, or so maybe sometimes with Survey Gizmo, it's maybe hard to answer all the questions and so on. So that's probably why we don't have a big response rate. So maybe we should try to find some strategy to enhance participation, so that maybe with bigger N, like we can have other sorts of analysis that we can run. So that leads us to the question I was asking in the discussion. How do we measure the effect of development evaluation training, and strategies that could be used by the participant in order to make the transfer of knowledge and skill gained in such a program. So, thank you.
I know the hearing was a bit of a challenge, I would just paraphrase a few things that Johan said a bit louder. So they had a framework, and as part of this framework for analyzing, evaluating this development training, they use an online survey, and the questions were related to the knowledge the person gained. It was also related to the resources the person had to implement any of this new knowledge, and any support they had for implementing it. And he had a very small sample, and in the future, he thinks that the results, this was a pilot, so they were learning, they were experimenting with that. So they didn't know what happened to the person who goes back home after they engage in this training program. So perhaps in the future, combine different analytical methodologies to combine with the data they had from the survey, and perhaps looking at a bigger sample and on a longer period of time. So that was, I just want to finalize this because the noises were quite bad from our neighbor. And I open the floor for a few questions for Johan before we move to GOT3. So I have got 3 questions here, number 1, 2, and 3. Yes, please. He's going to ask in French, so is anyone who can help you to translate to French? Oh, you do? Wonderful, thank you.
Because the part is
So, I still can't hear you, I'm so sorry.
thank you very much for the presentation.
Wonderful.
Because I'm a trainer of ANAFE.
Okay.
So I will start out with a share on essential presentation for concerning the application of formal techniques. Because the presentation was very fast. We connect inside your skin. And we reached out the exchange.
For the sign sheets that you have is exactly for that, so we will share all the 3 presentations with you, and we hope to continue the discussions. You might have questions after you have seen the presentations and the handout.
That was the key question. And the second one is that, according to your experience, how are you seeing the practicability of training from ANAFE to apply what you have learned in your university?
It's about his experience in methodologies for looking at how they apply what they have been learning on a training program. That was the question.
What you want to know is
The practicability.
yeah. Well,
The duplication of what they have learned in their home country.
yeah. Well, I didn't present the results of because I present the question, but didn't present the result. But they were mostly sometimes 100% positive. But like I said, there's no internal validity. So that's why I didn't really want to focus on that. But the feedback that we have from the people coming to the program actually is good, and there are some example of transfer in their administration. For example, here I run to a lot of ex-participants from the PIPED, and we were able also to exchange. So that's the reason why I think there's maybe from a methodological perspective, these online questionnaires, it's part of the equation, but you have maybe to have a more close examination of exactly how what they were using, what they were able to do in their administration, and which part of the program is more relevant for them. But so far, we are actually quite pleased with the fit between the context and the program, but we're still trying to improve it.
We're having a follow-up from Michele just about that. He's going to share some knowledge, then we follow on the two.
Yeah, I wanted to share my experience. I had a pretty smart client, I guess, in evaluating the effects of trainings over time after the completion of the training itself. It was the Millennium Challenge Corporation. So I was the lead trainer of a series of trainings in many different NCA, Millennium Challenge accounts in many different parts of the world. So what the client had, what the client has to do was, where you normally conduct a learning needs assessment among your students, you also conduct a more of an ecological assessment within the office, within the organization. And you kind of understand already where are some of the barriers and where are some of the constraints. Then you do the pre and post, so right before, right after, you see in terms of knowledge, not so much the practice. Then 3 months later, you look at any change that might have occurred in their behavioral practices at work. Then 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. And as evaluators, so we had, and it was already budgeted since the very beginning, based on the results, and it was all qualitative over the phone, then we were providing technical assistance, and not really more of an additional cost. So it was already budgeted. It was not very expensive. We were providing suggestions on how, for example, sell some of the concept a little bit more effectively with some of the leaders that might have taken part on day one of the training, but not on all 4 or 5 days of the training. So instead of having this more qualitative, and I think you got to that, the mixed methods evaluation is really, the methodology is really the way to go in this case. But I think this tracking after completion of the evaluation and budget for it since the beginning was very, very effective. And this is where the evaluator has more of a kind of a present role even after the training has been completed.
Yeah, because when you're talking about evaluating competencies, you have some validated quantitative tool that can be used, and sometimes you can even have some experimental or quasi-experimental designs that would fit, and you would have relevant insight about the program. But once you go deeper in the causal chain, sometimes it's more difficult to isolate it, the unique effect of the program. There's so many other factors that can intervene. So yeah, that's why I think mixed methods are more applicable.
And our main concern was not internal validity for us, because it was more of an exploratory assessment where every case was unique, and because of the number of your participants at this stage, you can still afford doing the kind of phone interviews, and when you get 200, of course, it gets more difficult.
That we can afford.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So please keep it short, and we have more time at the end, 2 and 3.
Thank you. I thought I've been a trainer for a while. I didn't catch how many participants were there in the program. Number 2, there's a pretty standardized evaluation methodology. Fitzpatrick's model is there, and there is a 5th level, that's a 4-level model. There's a 5th level which some people I don't know, on looking at the return on investment in training. So did you use any of that? And the third question is, did you do any pre-training assessment and post-training that was interest in the model, the first level?
Yeah, this is something, there was like a pre and a post, but actually it wasn't the same questionnaire, so I wouldn't even consider it a real pre and post. It's something that we will definitely do because the program is coming back this year, and we will really ask questions about competencies, the perceived level of competency on the different aspect of what the program is trying to transfer to the participant. So yes, there's really something to do with that. On the return on investment, no, we are not that. But I know that for maybe a more important program, this is something that would be useful. But like we are trying to just because most of the outcomes of the program is on the development and evaluation capacity, so that's maybe not the main target of the evaluation. We are more interested in knowing what the training is doing on this particular aspect, but maybe one day we would, and if we can have data about this, yes, why not? It's also relevant.
What was the length of the training?
Sorry?
What is the duration of the training?
Well, it's 4 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a last question here. Yes, thank you.
Exactly the same question I asked, but just like to tell you, if they have been evaluated.
Yeah, IPDET is this program is actually the French little brother of IPDET.
Okay, so what's the target? I mean, are you targeting mysteries? Are you targeting
So yeah.
Even in itself, the people who go to IPDET, they are not at the same level.
No.
People who are advanced, people who are fun. So to make probably your training more, I would say, effective, you probably might segregate it into setting groups. Entry level maybe and some advanced level. I'm not sure whether you
Are you talking about the participant in the program?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, the program is targeting people that already have an experience in evaluations, because like most of people but first we want people active in evaluation. So for an obvious reason that if we want to work on the development of evaluation capacity, you need to have people working in evaluation, not maybe some people that for which for whom it won't be relevant, this formation. So that's the first filter in the selection. Then another filter is like the level of experience. We try to we try to select the participant with they're not beginners in evaluation. They already have some basic notion in evaluation, and we also provide funding for some of the participants. So that's the third filter. This for the funding that we provide is people that wouldn't have the money or the funding to come to Quebec City.
We responded, and we only have like 10% of the sample responded to that. If the program is not comprehensive enough, it's not long enough in duration. So
no, that's the program. It's the first year of the PFED was in 2011. So we had three cohorts. But this questionnaire wasn't run to the last cohort because it was too short between the moment of the program was finished and.
So thank you very much. So if you want more details, please stay here for the cultural event of this evening and talk a lot about this program. We have a very burning question here before we move. He said it's very burning. Sette.
I would like to know when you are using this tool, well trained, have you met between training and acquiring? Because in our industry, we need to give a lot of scholarship training, and then we don't have to evaluate in this training, give the beneficiaries access to the deployment of these services. Then I would like to know this approach, have you integrated question of deployment after training?
Yeah, well, we had some qualitative question, like for example, we asked the participant, for example, to give example of effect, but maybe mostly on how they used the elements that the competencies, the knowledge, etc. So no, we didn't really like for on the professional effect, like on the career. No, we didn't assess that, but I think it's actually a good idea, and that's a bit what I was hoping, is that there's new indicators that we can measure and that would be relevant.
Very interested
Wonderful topic for a coffee. Thank you very much.
I have flyers of the program, so we can.
This is just the beginning of a dialogue and discussion. Okay, thank you very much. So, Godfrey and Agnes are together for the upcoming presentation. So, how is your level of energy? I have got a few candies left. So, those who are absolutely desperate for some sugar, please let me know. I can't pass the bag because it's so noisy. Anybody else for a candy? Oh, thank you. Sorry, I just wanted your concentration on this last presentation of the day. I don't want your eyes to close any minute. Okay, anybody else? I've got two left. Okay. For you? Alright, let's start.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Godfrey Kayobyo, and this speech is whom we wrote this paper. Agnes is here. I'm going to be sharing with you an approach which has been used to undertake a joint impact evaluation of CTA and its partner organizations. And this is the capacity-centered impact pathway analysis, baptized CcIPA. CcIPA was developed in the context of trying to assess impacts of a partnership or initiative over 10 years. CTA has been working with organizations in the SCP region for the last 10 years, and they wanted to assess the impacts of those initiatives. So they were looking for a model which could help to bring the impacts and ensure joint learning between CTA and the partner organizations, but not focusing only on accountability. They also wanted to ensure that they promote self-assessment by their partner organization. Hence, they advocated for using of internal resource persons in each of the partner organizations who were supported by external resource persons. And that's why I'm here, because I was the external resource person for RUFORUM, and Agnes was the internal resource person in RUFORUM. The focus was really on the implementing organizations of the partnership interventions rather than just tracking the products and services from the partnership. And it was also focusing on impact pathways rather than just exclusively looking for the impact. So basically, CcIPA is a synthesis model which is based on the premise that performance and impact of organizations to a large extent depends on the core capabilities of those organizations. And the fact that changes in capabilities of these implementing organizations is also impact of the partnership interventions. And also, the model tries to take into consideration the interactions among the key actors, the human and institutional relationship, which have a bearing on how impact occurs. Basically, CcIPA is a tool which draws on several methods, but mainly using a logic model and the 5 core capabilities model. The critical relation here, we have the deliverables or out at the implementing partner level as a direct result of activities or interventions of the leadership. Then, as you move, you also have changes in the core activities or outcomes at organizational level, which can be linked or logically linked to the issues. These changes in direct beneficiaries. In the case of RUFORUM and AFrEA, both of these institutions are working on networks for universities. So they are collaborating with CA, but when they take activities, the activity is people from the universities who participate. So the direct beneficiaries here are of the 2 institutions, RUFORUM and AFrEA, students and lecturers from the universities, the university faculties are the benefits. And these 2 also have a bearing on the outcomes, either society. In this case, you may be talking to the farmers or the other users of from the universities. In this case, the local model modified to take into consideration the fact that this implementing organization or the partnerization done and at the engaging the development process, which moves their capacity to create impact. So that emphasis on the 5 Cs model, because these are critical for the performance of the organization. There are 5 areas, capability areas, the capability to act and commit, which is concerned with the ability to do good plans, take decisions, and act on those decisions. The capability to deliver on objectives, which takes into consideration the resource mobilization, the finances, the human resources available to undertake the activities, the performance standards, and the first access to facilities within this implementing organization. As this change, they have a bearing on whether impact will be there or not. There is also the capability to deliver, to adapt and self-renew, which is concerned with learning and improving and communicating these changes within the organization. The capability to relate to external stakeholders, which is all about assessing the extent to which the organization is able to build and maintain relationships and networks with other key actors who can help it to perform better, as well as the operational credibility. The capability to achieve coherence is concerned with assessing the extent to which there is a clear mandate, as staff in the organization clear about the vision, the mandate of the organization which they serve, such that they will commit to produce the results, clear organizational policies, and committed leadership to improvement. So each of these capability areas had assessment questions which were supposed to be answered by the staff in the implementing organization. And we developed a questionnaire which we sent to people. In other cases, in ANAFE, they took a decision that they would go do key informant interviews and then have a focused discussion to do what it is for the organization to assess the capabilities in these areas. Now, the implementation of this model was a two-stage process. One was what was called a quick scan, where the logic model was applied, and also the 5 Cc's questionnaire was applied. This process really focused on looking at literature or secondary information, documents which are available in some key formats to understand the changes over 10 years, what the organization was doing, what changes took place over that length of time during which there was the partnership between CcIPA and these organizations. This helped to bring out the intermediate outputs as well as the short-term outcomes from the partnership interventions. It provided stories and some speculations about the potential impact from these engagements. It helped to identify the key area among the various components of the interventions which were done in this partnership to narrow down. The organization decided which of these do we want to look into deeper, such that we can understand all the outcomes and the impacts which have been created. In the in-depth study, it was to, first of all, recreate a theory of change for this area which has been identified, such that you can know what is the intended outcomes and how do they map out. These changes were expected to map out. You had to define the geographical scope within which you are going to be able to trace the people, and then describe the situation before the intervention. Data collection, analysis, and reporting was structured around impact domains or dimensions, and these were mainly the political capital, social capital, the human capital, and material or wealth capital impact domain. So the questions in the in-depth study as well as the data analysis and reporting were structured around these impact dimensions. So what are the key lessons we have got from using this model? We found the model to be relevant, and RUFORUM has tried to incorporate elements of this in evaluating its other projects. We also found that it's quite useful if you are going to apply this CcIPA model to peg data collection. You are evaluating a partnership. Maybe it's not this partnership does not represent everything the organization is doing. But if they have other evaluative activities around the same time, it's better to peg some of your data collection onto those other activities, as this will help to rationalize resources. In this particular case, RUFORUM was going to undertake a tracer study of all their alumni, but CTA has been partnering with RUFORUM to also sponsor skill enhancement events and sponsor people to engage, to participate in exposure events like conferences where their capacities are being strengthened. So instead of sending a questionnaire, an online questionnaire to the same people most likely, and after 2 months, RUFORUM sends another tracer study questionnaire, we decided to combine the two such that we would get the information at the same time. What was critical there was that we needed to have influence with the other team which was going to do the tracer study such that our questions were there and our interests are well covered. We also have learned that when you are going to use this model, it's quite vital that the external resource person you engage has good knowledge about the organization. Because the quick scan is looking at changes over a 10-year period. If you are bringing a person who is interacting with this organization for the first time, and you don't have a lot of time, maybe some of the documents people who are now in the office came when these activities were done many years ago, they were not there, and you are trying to retrace all of these steps, that may not be visible. That's the value of having somebody who has some good knowledge about the organization, and they bring their memory, previous memory to bear in writing the quick scan, which is really based on second data. The other advice we'd like to give is that planning and timing of the implementation of the study is critical. When we are applying the 5 Cs questionnaire, you either have to do informant interviews or put this online, but the secretariats in these organizations are manned by a fairly small number of people who are managing lots of activities, and they are quite often on the run. So you need to plan well such that you can get them, get audience, and get the information out of them. And also the fact that you need to be mindful of the internal dynamics in the organization as you apply the 5 CCs. We are talking about power dynamics here. You are trying to assess, is leadership committed? Do we have a plan? Is it participatory? So there are certain questions which you may be asking, and people may not feel free to give you their right assessment. So you need to look for ways which will enable you to overcome that as to the effective intake of your results. These are some of the partners. There are 9 partner institutions. We've not put all the levels for these institutions. Thank you very much.